Hi, everybody. Checking out the recording. Sorry, I forgot to record the breathing in our first little bit here. But welcome to those of you who are watching the recording in another space and time. Always happy to have you here. So yeah, I'm wondering what recurring patterns are coming up for you. I was just recently reminded of one of my own, where I was looking at a situation and thought, oh no, not this again, right? So where are you at? What's happening for you? Oh, there's Linda. She's here. Yay. Let's make her a panelist. And let's turn her on. Hi, babe.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Do we get your face too?
I'm trying. Oh my God. The tech gods have been like mocking me all morning. Okay.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Okay, let's see. You cannot, hold on, cannot start your video because the host has disabled it.
She has? Well, that's terrible. Let's see if I can.
Don't be mean.
Your co-host. Let's see if that works. Let's see.
We should not be allowed to do this shit.
I know, right? It's illegal. Okay, there we go. There she is.
Sort of. Okay, can you see me?
There, I can see you. Hi, babe. Everybody, this is my dear friend Linda Sivertsen. Linda and I have been friends and colleagues for years now. She runs the Beautiful Writers Group and allows me to sit in every month, and we answer questions and
whatever.
Do stuff.
Awesome. You're my right arm. You're my soulmate.
Yeah. So yes, we have a beautiful marriage over there in Beautiful Writers Group. If you guys are looking for a group of support, Beautiful Writers Group is really inexpensive and hugely valuable. Yeah, I think Veronica can probably pop that link in there if you just go to bookmama.
Bookmama.com, baby.
Bookmama.com. Good. So Linda, let's just give everybody a little bit of background. How did you get from where you were to where you are?
You know what? I'm a big dreamer. I'm a big grandiose girl. Not so much lately. Like I've really had to work on that as I've gotten older, but I'm telling you, you have never met anybody more determined. I think Martha Beck the other day described me as the most persistent person she had ever known. And I think, you know what, I always say I didn't wear myself out in my younger years. I didn't study much when I was a kid. I didn't really worry about school in high school or college. And so when I finally had the dream that told me how to write books and what to do, I mean, it was a very mystical dream that I kind of outline in this book. It was so real and it spoke to my greatest desire, and it made me see like a whole future for myself that I had always wanted but didn't believe I could accomplish. And so I just studied my ass off. I think I put in 1 billion hours and practiced my writing forever and ever, and got to the point where I could write for myself and other people, and just kept flinging myself out there, sister.
You know, I once got described by someone, not by Martha Beck, but by someone as relentless. Which in the moment I was like, I don't think that's a compliment. But then I was like, okay, well, what else is relentless? And I thought, you know, you often hear the sun described as relentless.
Right.
I was like, oh, I'll take that. I'll be relentless like the sun.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Oh,
okay.
Relentless like the sun, Samantha Bennett.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Good. We've got a couple of questions here. Cheryl says, I'm editing my book and looking for a good self-publisher. How to choose?
Oh, Lordy Lord. You know, I have often thought if I were going to self-publish a book, what the hell would I do? Because you go, you know, so many of my clients love CreateSpace, which is the Amazon publishing arm, self-publishing arm. And I don't know, the last time I checked, which was a couple of years ago, they didn't do recycled paper or FSC certified paper. So it was a no for me. But I do have to say that my clients who have worked with CreateSpace loved it. And I think the ease of use was really a big draw. So for me, it depends on what your goals are. For me, I'm a paper girl. It's got to be sustainable. And so I would work with a printer if I had to, although I'm sure there are some, Google it and just see, how do I self-publish a book on sustainable paper or recycled paper? And those things will come up and they'll be more expensive for sure, most likely. But it just depends on what you like to do. I don't know, Sam, do you have any wisdom on that one?
I don't know. I've heard good things about Lulu.
Yes, I have too.
But I don't know what their paper options are. I know my book got published by New World and they use soy-based ink and recycled paper. And one of the things I love about them, but
Totally.
I don't know that people actually know this is an option. And I know it's something you fought really hard for when you were getting this book published, because I have 2 copies of your book and neither of them are here on my desk right now. But it's a big book. You can see it's quite a long book with a lot of
pages,
a lot of stories and a lot of information, both of Linda's personal story as a writer. And then also she has a podcast that is massively popular. And again, if you are not listening to it, add it to your thing. Veronica says Lulu does use FSC-certified paper.
Hey, so good to know. Thank you for that info.
Yeah. They've been doing our real life planners too. We've been having them print our planners. Yeah. So on the podcast, she interviews all these like super famous writers and then has them interview each other too. She always has Linda and Martha Beck talking to Cheryl Strayed, or Linda and Elizabeth Gilbert talking to Marie Forleo. Like, it's always a really fun trio of people, and and because Linda's a writer talking to writers, she gets to ask them real writer questions. So it's not just their sort of PR spiel about their book. It's really, they get very honest about their process, about what they've been going through, what's happened to them. It's a really, really lovely and informative and reassuring resource for writers.
We all need reassurance.
Yeah, but I don't think people know that this is an option. And so tell us a little bit, because your first book was, your first book with Tosh was Generation Green, but you've written a couple of ecologically focused books.
My first book was Lives Charmed, and I interviewed celebrities about their success from a spiritual perspective, but there was also a lot of environmental stuff in there. So that was like the gateway drug for me. I was trying to get, if we talk about, a royal person's, if they're admitting like their bulimia and their incest, well, when they start talking about saving the environment, maybe we'll listen, because we've got that little tabloid stuff in there too. So Woody Harrelson, I had him talking about how he was terrible at relationships, but then we got to talk about hemp,
See?
So so that first book was not on recycled paper, but I was able to talk a lot about the environment for that book. And then the second book that I published, I helped I did ghostwriting for people, and I would interject environmental stuff in their books for sure. But it wasn't until Simon & Schuster published Generation Green with my son and me that I was able to get like the soy inks and the recycled paper. And that was just a dream.
Yeah. And you actually went with a publisher specifically this time for Beautiful Writers, right? So because they would use the FSC paper.
I did. Yeah. I was taking meetings with wonderful publishers, and some of them, in the top 5. But they weren't excited about the FSC paper. I didn't even follow up to find out if they would do it, because Ben Bella was so excited about it, and they just spoke my language, and I took a real chance. I mean, it's a big thing to go with a smaller publisher because of your heart, right?
Yeah.
And I have to say, from the second I saw this cover, which I think is so beautiful, and from the whole editorial process, I have kissed the ground and thanked God a million times for choosing them.
Well, and I really want to underline this for all of you out there, not just writers, but if you are looking for any kind of partnership, you really have to check with your heart. Like, don't go with the one that just looks good on paper, because we have all gotten into the relationships that look good on paper.
That's so good. That's
right? So and then in real life, it's not like that. So you really have to be clear on what your values are, what really matters to you. And follow your heart. I remember Amy Ehlers and I were partnering on a project 100 years ago, and we were looking for a social media manager just to manage this one particular aspect of this one project. And we found someone. They seemed really great. We were having a chat with them, and it all seemed fine. And then something flashed into my head, and I said, you know what? I just want to interject here. Amy and I are both super over communicators. Like, I would rather have you call me, text me, and leave me a message telling me that you don't have time to talk than not hear from me, than not hear from you.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, and then the person we're talking to said, oh, then I'm not your girl.
Wow. Good to know.
Right? I was like, we have just saved ourselves a ton of money and time and frustration.
Yeah.
Just because our communication styles are different.
Wow. That's
She's
so
like,
good.
nope, I like to go in my cave and not be bothered and not be, you know, she's like, that would feel like pestering to me. I'm like, we'll pester you. She's like, yeah, that would feel like pestering. I'm not happy about that.
Oh,
like,
that's
amazing, right? So yeah, you got to be clear on what your deal is, and then follow your heart. Linda says, a recurring pattern, getting disorganized, self-sabotage. So my projects are all mixed up and I can't tell where I left off in any of them.
that sounds familiar.
Yeah. Any thoughts on keeping all those plates spinning?
Yeah, I have a lot of plates. I know the deal. And I think there's something about what we've all gone through with COVID that has made the plate spinning even harder to rectify. I think whether it's brain fog, whether it's overwhelm, fear, whatever, and the fact that a lot of us, because we had this beautiful kind of pause in the got to be here, got to go there, got to fly here, got to book this deal, blah, blah. Because there was a pause in that. I don't know that any of us are willing to go back to the same kind of frenetic pace that we were living in pre-COVID. Yeah. But the challenge of that is, you know how that saying about the busier you are, the more you can get done.
Right.
When people are scheduled to the hilt, they tend to or can get very organized. When I did the publication day podcast episode for this book, I had on Stephen Pressfield and Martha Beck and a couple other people, and it was a round table. It was so much fun. And they were kind of reminiscing, Elizabeth Lesser and Martha Beck were reminiscing about how there was this sort of sacred, really heightened vibrational energy to their writing time when they had little kids, full-time jobs, you know, and were maxed out on time. It's like when they got to the page, it was so kind of sacred and focused. And Cheryl Strayed said this too in the podcast and in the book, that sometimes the worst days are the days that you have fully open.
Totally.
Right? It's like, you know, 4:00 comes and you're like, what the hell did I do all day? Like, wow, does that time disappear? So I think I forgot your original question.
No, I think you're saying that structure helps, you know, and
yeah, wrangle yourself is what I'm saying.
Wrangle yourself. Also, you know, a body in motion tends to stay in motion, you know, that when you are up to doing a lot of things, you tend to sort of just keep it going, you know. And I definitely have that. If I've got, you know, a morning off or a day off and I think, oh, I've got all this time to write, or oh, I've got all this time to do, nothing happens.
Also, lately, I've been really working on multitasking. You know, they say don't do it, but I was noticing I wasn't exercising anymore. And we have a treadmill and I forgot about it. I hadn't even thought about it in months. And so I started taking my work on the treadmill and reading on the treadmill. And then, okay, client's happy because I just finished her proposal and I just got an hour of sweat in. And so it's like, wow. So I do think there are ways that when you're intentional, when you make that decision that you want to get organized, then you ask yourself, okay, what are the ways in which have worked for me in the past? Morning time for me is crystal. If I'm going to get shit done, it better be accomplished in the morning. And simple thing, but makes a huge difference for me is if I plot out my day before bed for the next day, things are far more organized and clear.
Yeah. And I think from what I've read, it's not actually multitasking that's the problem. It's task switching that's the problem.
Yes, 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 right.
So doing two things at once, like walking and listening to a book on tape or treadmill and working. I just saw Dr. Marie Claire Haver, who's like the great menopause guru of all time. If you're not following her, follow her, Dr. Haver, the Galveston diet. She's amazing. But she turned her desk into a walking desk, and just, not at a fast pace or anything, but she's just going the whole time. So yeah, anytime you can do two things at once, that's great, but it's the moving back and forth, like, oh, I'm writing, oh, now I'm answering the phone, oh, now I'm supposed to go back to writing, wait, where was I, what's happening? That's the time waster. That's the thing that'll kill you.
Also, really quick thing about what to do when you've got a bunch of projects going. I always go where the juice is. Mm-hmm. Put projects out on your desk, give each one a notepad or something, and like go where the juice is, go where your joy is.
Yeah.
There's always a project. When I'm sitting with somebody at a retreat and she's got like 5 projects or 6 projects, which we all do because creatives are channels, right? We're open channels for the muse. We always, the 5 others of us who are watching her tell what she's working on, we can see where her eyes light up. We can see where body language goes cold. It's pretty easy to see where somebody loves something and doesn't. So
yeah, and even just the vocabulary of like, well, I really should Okay, cross that one off the list right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Clearly you don't give a shit about that. Like whatever the one is about. I really should write a book about no, you shouldn't. Somebody else should. Yeah. Or maybe you will, but not today, today.
Right.
I was just running a small group the other day and did a little sort of year-end exercise of sort of pretending like your life is a garden.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I love about entrepreneurship. It's a feeling I didn't expect, and I've never heard anybody talk about it, but the overall feeling of like, hey, I built this. I grew this thing. Like there was nothing and now there's something. Like this is a real thing. It's a real business that supports me and several other people, and like that's amazing. Right. So I get this good like Farmer John feeling of like, hey, look at this. Look at these good crops. But sort of looking around. So with that sort of in mind, so now it's winter, things have died back a little bit. Like, let's look back on this last year of growing season and go like, okay, what's gone really well? Wow, I totally neglected that apple tree, but it did fine anyway.
Right.
I thought I was going to get to this. That didn't even happen. This didn't even start, like, and not in a self-punishing way, but just in a really self-compassionate assessing way of like, well, what do I want to keep doing? What do I want to do more of? What do I want to do less of? What am I sad about that I didn't do? Right.
I had that experience yesterday, as a matter of fact. I was just on Marie Forleo's Marie TV, and I thought, wow, I should really go back and look at my offerings and make sure that they're up to date, and just kind of give my website a once over as if I was coming there as a new customer, right? Whoa. I mean, it is amazing how much changes in the course of a year. So I have this course called Book Proposal Magic. So I went there, went to the website, and I was like, oh my gosh, I hadn't updated certain things. And it said I lived in Los Angeles. I haven't lived in Los Angeles in a couple of years. And I just thought, but here's the thing, as I'm reading the copy, I fell back in love with the copy. I fell back in love with that offering. When I created that course, I poured so much love into it. Well, then since then, I poured so much love into my book and into my marriage and blah, blah, blah. And we tend to forget the beauty that we've already created. So you're saying, look back and see what you did right, what you didn't. But wow, it is so amazing when you go back and you see how you can take things and repurpose things. Like I thought, wow, there's so much wealth just here on a sales page.
Right.
Using for blog posts. I could be using to market. I could be using for the next book, for book 2. And so we have a tendency to kind of like, once we're done with something, to discount it.
And especially highly creative people, like we're like the kids with too many Christmas presents. We're like, oh, did that? Like that's happened already. Like forgot all about it. I will also say, unprompted endorsement, that book proposal magic course, if you all are struggling with a book proposal, and if you're writing a book, you definitely need a book proposal, whether you're going to self-publish or not, because it is the business plan for your book. And I know too many people who have written a book without one and then ended up with a book that no one would buy because they didn't really have a strategic plan for it.
Right.
And this course is amazing. I mean, it's what got me to finish my book proposal, and twice.
Fun.
It's really good. It's really good. I will also, just one thing with the gathering projects thing, just a practical tip. So I do everything on legal pads. I use Levenger legal pads. I write everything by hand. I'm an analog girl.
Yeah.
And then, because I'm basically a 6th grader, everything goes into file folders like this, so they can stay out on my desk, because as we know, if things go in a drawer, they die.
They do.
So this, and the fact that they're different colors and stuff, helps me sort of keep track and not just have giant piles of paper everywhere in my life. I still kind of do have giant piles of paper, but at least some of the giant piles are wrangled slightly.
So are your file folders, they're color coded, right? So like one is for writing, one is for bills, one is like, is that right?
Yes. And I tend to use green for like money things. Like there's one that says tax, where I put my tax stuff as it rolls out through the year. But and it would probably be better if I had like a more consistent system, like, oh, blue is always for my creative projects and red is for the course I'm teaching right now or something, but it's not. It's just whatever color I like in the moment. But I do tend to remember that it's like, oh, wait, where's the one on, the retreat in Greece? Oh, that one's yellow. I can remember where it is. So that's
so good.
Yeah, helps a little bit.
Love it.
Okay, Kim has a great question. She said, so I wrote the book and it's out. First of all, yay! Well done, Kim. That's amazing. Never, so hard. So hard. So yeah, do not ever stop giving yourself a ton of credit for that, just that alone. Okay. So I wrote the book and it's out. I need help booking events and publicizing. Even though publisher has a publicist and does some work, I know I get buried amid their other work. Do I hire my own publicist too? I just don't want to do the admin, but happy to do all the podcast, group talks, etc. Admin, hate it. So much more to write. LOL. Yeah. My book is timely and timeless topic on family caregiving. So when people hear about it, they do want to talk about it. Yeah. What do you think?
If you can afford a publicist and you want support, go for it. I mean, it's so helpful. I've done it both ways, with and without a publicist. I chose not to do it this time because I love the PR department at my publisher, and I already had a bunch of stuff booked on my own. But I don't know that was wise. I mean, I don't know anybody at the Today Show, and I'm certainly not pitching myself. I'm like, I'm a little, I gotta say, I'm a little lazy on this book. I have just kind of really sat back and lived a really balanced life since I finished her. I worked so hard. We always work so hard on our books that when they're done, it's such a relief. It's so nice to have her out in the world, and she's making her way. So I haven't been really obsessed with it, but I did think the other day, I thought, maybe I'll hire a publicist going forward. I don't know. But I have worked with them, and it is fun. I mean, boy, do they call, and they've got all sorts of irons in the fire. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah. And it's also possible to do it yourself with, if you've got a really good VA, so yeah, if you don't love the admin, don't do the admin. You shouldn't do the admin, even if you do love it. Like,
right.
So yeah, but you can get somebody else to help organize that stuff with you. I mean, my publicists at New World, they basically just had kind of a big Google sheet with the names and the things and where they were at in the process of, did they contact them? Did they say yes? Did they get all the materials they needed? Did they book the date? When was it? How did it go?
Right. If you go to bookmama.com, I have a media button, and see what I added there, because that makes life so much easier. If you've got like a place on your website where they can download the right size JPEG for your headshot, and you give them multiple options. So when you're out publicizing the book, everybody's not seeing just the same shot everywhere, right? You've got options, and I have a book bio there, and I have a Linda bio, and there's a press kit there. There's downloadable covers, different cover shots they can use. So what that does is it keeps the admin down for me a lot. People will text me and they'll say, would you like to be on the podcast? And I'm like, sure. here's my link for all the digital assets you need. And then I'm not having, and you can put like suggested interview questions there. Put your other interviews there so they can go back and see you on other programs to kind of get a vibe for you. Anyway, it just keeps the admin way down.
Yeah.
And a calendar, have an automated calendar. So
yes. Oh my God, you must have an automated calendar. You must get Calendly, get whatever.
Love Calendly.
Calendly's free. It works great. So that you can just say, here's my calendar. You block out the times you don't want to be available. They pick a time that's good for them. Everybody gets reminders. It's brilliant. I also just found out about this thing called Pod Match, which
I heard about that too.
Will match if you have a podcast and you need guests, or you're a guest and you want to be on podcast, or both. You tell them a little bit about yourself and then they send you matches.
Right.
And I've only just signed up. I don't have very much experience with it, but it was recommended to me by one of the giants of publicity. So of marketing, somebody from duct tape marketing recommended it. So I'll put that link.
That's cool.
Most of you should absolutely be on this. This is an affiliate link, by the way. So if you sign up, I'm sure I'll get pennies on a dollar. And I think speaking of which, here's the link for Linda's book. What did I do with it? Here it is. This is also an affiliate link. And I just got, you guys, $2.08 from Amazon affiliates. So I'm just saying.
$2. God.
$2.08.
You know what they say? Don't spend it all in the same place.
You can't. There's nothing you can buy for $2 anymore.
You could buy this.
You could one tea bag for my one cup of tea.
Let's tell them a few of the wisdoms that you tell in the book that are so phenomenal. Like, I love that story. Do you remember that story you told about when you stalled out when you were writing Get It Done and you didn't know, like, what the hell is this book? Is it a guidebook? Is it a workbook? Like, what is it? And then you had a little conversation with the book.
I did. I asked the book, what did you want to be? Yeah. And I sort of let it evolve. What I started doing was just carrying around index cards, which I still do everything on index cards. And so anytime I had a random thought about something I thought should be in the book, I just made a note on the index card and then I put it in a big manila envelope labeled Genius on my desk. And I did that for a couple of weeks. And then I sat down at my big dining room table and poured them all out. And then I just started to clump them up. I was like, oh, well, here's the stuff on time management. Here's the stuff on negative voices inside your head. And here's the stuff on, how to promote it. Or here's the stuff. And sometimes I had written the same thing 3 or 4 times. I was like, wow, apparently I really feel like it's
right.
Maybe I should start with this. And that let it sort of take a really organic shape. And again, I sort of let the project tell me what it needed to be, rather than playing that game, which I had been trying to play, like, no, it has to be perfect inside of my mind first.
Oh God, that game, Nowheresville fast.
Nowheresville.
I love when you were talking about those, what 3x5 cards? Is that what they are? I was amazed how many people told me they use those. I mean, Danny Shapiro has a great story in the book about she's like, why am I thinking I need to run to the office store to get 3x5 cards? Like, what the hell? It was I believe it was for Inheritance, that book. Mm-hmm. And it might've been for her marriage book that came right before Inheritance. But at any rate, she went to the store thinking this is ridiculous, and then brought them home and then talked about how it completely transformed her writing process for that book. And then Danielle Laporte does the same thing, just like writes them and then lays them out on the living room floor. And then you're able to move things around and see things. I just love how all of you writers have so many different ways of doing things.
And that's really the point, is do whatever works for you,
Right. I don't use 3x5 cards. I tried, but didn't do anything.
Also tell you 3x5, I was able to find on Amazon heavyweight index cards, because I don't know if you've noticed, but they have gotten super flimsy over the years.
Like everything.
And like my willpower, like my will to live. It's kind of very flimsy.
Real delicious. But
So
that other story I love that you tell. Look at me, I'm just taking over the interview. I haven't recorded a podcast lately. I think I need to get back in the chair. But that whole thing of like, expect the voice in your head to tell you it's going to be terrible. Like, just expect that voice.
that is absolutely that voice's job. I mean, it just goes nonstop. It thinks it's keeping you safe.
Right.
You know, it's like an over anxious playground monitor going like, don't climb up that slide too fast. Don't go too fast. You're going to get hurt. It's going to be terrible. Don't swing too high. Like, you know, he's going to go, okay, thank you. Okay, got it. Thank you. Yeah, when I was writing Start Right Where You Are, I had a really short deadline. And it's about to happen again. They did the same thing. They were like, okay, if we can have the manuscript by the end of February, we can have it in the story, you know, we can have it for the fall. And I'm like, blink, blink, blink. Okay. Shit.
God.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. I wonder what the book is that I'm writing by the end of February.
Yeah, right. I'm not really sure what it is yet. You need to call me because I need the download on that one.
I will totally. Well, and I'll tell you what I did is, but I still need to talk to you about this. I was like having the same kind of thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to structure this. And so then I thought, well, Samantha, why reinvent the wheel? The wheel has been working for so many years now. Just go to the wheel. So I went to the hero's journey.
There you go.
And mapped out, just copied out all 12 steps of the hero's journey, and then just made a corollary for my topic of like, okay, well, what's the initiation for this? What's the helper for this? What's the trial by fire of this? What's the
call that you reject?
Right. I'm like, it worked like a charm. I'm like, oh, now I have an outline. Awesome.
Oh, that's so good.
It's a monomyth, baby. Like, it's the only story there is, right? So might as well, why pretend that steal from the smartest people you can find.
There you go.
Joseph Campbell. Thanks, Joe. And Joe says, this is so helpful. I'm so glad. Thanks, and Joe. We have a terrible cautionary tale from Linda about the other Linda about having a walking desk and getting doing it for hours and hours a day and getting all screwed up in her body. So careful.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I bet.
Claire says, I love that you refer to your book as a she. Yeah.
Oh, she's so pretty. She looks like wedding cake to me.
She does look like wedding cake.
Can you tell I'm the daughter of bakers? Like, Miss Cake. I'm gluten intolerant, so I don't need a lot of cake.
There is no cake. I was talking to another gluten-free friend the other day about, I went to, this story has no point, except it's the diner that I went to write the outline for the, I do well in diners and sushi places with no internet. So I went there to write, and I got a cup of decaf, and then the place is spotless. It's called the Athenian diners. You know, Greek diners are the best diners, right? Yeah. Wherever you are, Greek diners are the best diners. And the server comes over and she's like, okay, did you think what you want? And I said, yeah, I said, I think I'm gonna get cheese blintzes. And she goes, oh, good choice. She goes, it's gonna taste so good with the coffee. I'm like, exactly. But all my gluten-free friends are like, don't even with me with the cheese blintzes. That's everything I can't have.
Yeah, I don't eat dairy either. So F you down.
Okay. I know, but you can know that I am enjoying the cheese blintzes on your behalf. They were delicious. Let's see. Lori says, I wonder how many times I have to be told something before I actually listen. I have the book, but haven't read The Hero's Journey. Perhaps I should do what you did and use the template. Yeah, I mean, just Google the image. It'll.
So, oh yeah, just Google it.
Yeah, you don't have to read the book. I mean, it's kind of dense. I mean, Campbell's an academic, and his books are pretty academic. Let's see. And Joe says, you guys think a lot like me, and yet you are successful. Gives me hope. Well, exactly.
That's a good one. I love that.
Veronica says, yes, we have to double down on the cheese and bread for our fallen sisters.
Oh my God, your people are so fun. You know, my husband said, we'll go to a restaurant and I always try to eat organic, and he thinks that's ridiculous. So I'll order something and he'll look at the waiter and he'll say, I would like extra GMOs and double gluten, please. Such a jerk.
Delightful.
Yeah.
Good. You guys have any more questions for Linda? What are you wondering about how to, where are you stuck in your own writing? What questions, what have you always wanted to know? She can give you the dirt on some of your favorite writers. Are they actually as wonderful as you want them to be?
Nice shit talk here.
That Ann Pachett, what a bitch.
Oh my God. Best. She's the absolute best.
She is the absolute best.
The best too. I mean, these women are just fucking saints. I love them. I love them. It's the weirdest thing when you have a podcast and you kind of hit it off with these people who have been your idols forever. And then you have to email them something like, I had to email them like, hey, is it okay if I use your words for the book? And then they emailed back, and then we start talking about other stuff. And then, you know, we're doing the audio now, so we're in contact again. And these people are so genuine and so generous. And, you know, it's hard. I know how much they get. Like Ann Pachett said on my podcast, wow, I wish, you know, email wasn't invented. Like it's so impossible when you're at her level to keep up, right? And so here I'm emailing her going, damn, sorry. But she's just amazing. Always answers right away. So does Stephen Pressfield. Like, these people are gold, just
Amazing.
gold.
Amazing. Well, and you know, Seth Godin often talks
He
about
answers me too.
He will answer within moments.
He's amazing.
I mean, I email him like once every 3 years because I never want to impose on him.
Right.
But every time I have emailed, he's emailed me back like immediately. I'm like, what are you doing? But he doesn't take meetings.
Does not use Twitter.
Does not use Twitter.
Does not watch TV.
Doesn't watch TV, doesn't watch social media. He roasts his own coffee. He roasts his own coffee. He doesn't drink coffee, but he roasts his own coffee. He also, I think, makes his own chocolate. I don't know.
About that. Isn't his wife's a baker?
Yeah, and she has a vegan bakery in Hastings on Hudson, where they live. Let's see. Claire, but so Seth often refers to, I think, lots of things, but particularly writing as an act of generosity.
Oh, that feels good to me, because I think we sacrifice a lot to write, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't hear many people talking about that, and maybe I should talk about it more, because it's an intense life being a writer. You're alone a lot, and I don't know that people think you're sane who are around you. I mean, can you imagine, like, what's mommy doing? Oh, mommy's just staring at that thing again. Like, I remember once there was a great memoir, and I have to go back and find it because I don't remember the title, but it was basically like writers are schizophrenic. And the author was just so honest about how her whole family hated her writing. And you really have to be careful. I mean, I've noticed just in the last couple of days since Thanksgiving, I haven't really been on social media because I just wanted to be a human being for a couple of days, you know? And so I do believe it's an act of generosity. You're giving a lot of yourself, and you're taking a risk to do it because you don't know if you're going to make any money with it. And that thing that you don't know might take you 10, 15 years. Like, just crackers. But at the same time, what's more joyous than like creating something from nothing that's coming from your soul, and you know that whatever you're outlining has helped you, and it's going to help somebody else. So there's a real high to it. I'm not saying it's a bad life. I love this life, but there's a lot that goes into it. And
I think you pointed out something that I've never really thought about before, which is it's an act of generosity aimed at the future, right? And there's no reward for that in the moment, right? In the moment, we can be generous. You know, I can be generous with my partner. I can be generous. You know, if I had kids, it's like I could give to them. I could drive them to ice skating. I could, you know, clean the house. I could be doing. And the world loves to reward that. Like, oh, you're such a good mom. Oh, you're such a good friend. Oh, you're always there. You show up for everybody. You do everything for everybody. we get rewarded for the things we do for other people. We do not get rewarded for the things we do for ourselves or the things we do for our future selves or future people, right?
Yeah.
So it's no wonder that it's hard to find time to write, because there's no juice there except the action of doing it. You kind of have to love the process and be really dedicated, because
Right.
any little thing will pull you. I don't know about you, I'll take any excuse to stop writing. Like,
And it is an act of self-love too, because I've noticed that when I give that time to myself first in the morning in my bed office, I am more present for
absolutely.
the day. I am happier. And I'm a better dog mom too. Like, it's easier to get on the ground and just hang out with your dogs and play. And if you just killed chapter 2.
I also end up having much more interesting conversations, because when I'm wrestling with something in my writing, I'll take it to my sister, I'll take it to my friends, I'll take it to you and go like, okay, so I was thinking about this thing about people pleasing, and how do we do that, and what's that about? And like, all of a sudden you're having really interesting conversations about ideas, which is great. Okay, so Claire says, I'm curious about a time when the nagging negative voice in your head actually turned out to be helpful. For me, it often means I meant to go in another direction, but I'm so stubborn I don't listen.
I do think that the nagging voice has real wisdom. If she keeps saying the same thing over and over again, definitely pay attention to that. I had an experience recently where I was working on a project, and I knew it was supposed to go a different way. And my mentor she had like a different idea, and her idea was awesome, but it wasn't the one that I wanted to do. And I've noticed that when I choose my way of doing something over somebody else who has more experience, more fame, more money, more everything, more accolades, it's a little scary. It's a little scary to choose your own vision of something when other people who should know better disagree.
Totally.
But I noticed over and over and over, every time I go against my gut in favor of somebody else's wisdom, I always end up regretting it and have to go back anyway. So it's like, if that little voice is saying something to you, pay attention.
Yeah.
And conversation with her, like really sit down and go, I feel like you're being negative, but what's going on here? Mm-hmm. Write it out. Sometimes I have a big painting paper pad thing. And I will take the big pad with a big Sharpie, and I'll sit there and say, okay, what am I thinking? And I need to like draw really big. Mm-hmm. I almost feel like that I See Dead People medium, that Henry guy. But I'm like drawing really big, and then I can figure out what the voice, the unconscious, the muse, God, whatever is trying to tell me.
I've done that with right hand, left hand too.
Yes.
I have my dominant hand write like, what the fuck is going on, and have my left hand answer. And of course, my non-dominant hand looks like, serial killer, kindergarten murderer handwriting, but that's okay. It keeps the answer short. And because it's a dialogue between me and me, I love how sassy I can get. I was like, what the fuck is going on? You're doing it wrong. What the fuck does that mean?
Right. Oh yeah.
Flowers.
I had one because I went back and I looked at the big pad the other day, and I had one from years ago with this same book that I just released. And my muse or whoever was mad at me, saying like, you are not taking this seriously enough. You need to make a decision. And I was writing with my non-dominant hand.
I had one
really, that kicked me into gear.
I had one where the character, the non-dominant hand was a wolf. Sometimes it takes on a different person. One time it was like this sort of Appalachian grandma being like, yep, nope. But another time it was this like a wolf.
You're a nut.
I can't believe I'm saying this out loud.
Horrible. I love you.
Right. So, and the last thing the wolf said was, follow me, wear lipstick.
Oh, see, your wolf is more creative than most people's like full-fledged muse.
I will also say, Claire, the one thing I do find helpful with a negative voice is to just ask the same question in a different tone of voice. Right. So if that voice is going like, well, who do you think you are? I'm like, well, who do I think I am? I think I'm a person who's trying to write a book.
Oh, that's good.
Like, this is terrible. You should write better. Okay, this might be terrible. Do I know how to make this better right now?
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
favorite self-editing question. Do I know how to make this better right now?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like, oh, I do know how to make it better. Like, I've put all these intensifiers in here for no reason. I've used adverbs, but broken my own rule and used adverbs. Like,
Right.
the verbs could be stronger. Always it could be shorter. I always put in filler words, and I always have to go back in and take them out.
I love filler words. I love just and very and really and so and that. I love filler words, and I always pepper them all over the place, and then I pull them all out, or most of them.
Take them all out. And other times I'm like, I don't know how to make this better right now.
Yeah,
And that's why God made editors.
exactly. Yeah.
Kim says, I actually retired from my job as a tenured faculty to write what I wanted. No more grants or academic writing for me. Only way to birth my book, my words, was to retire, but I don't take that lightly. I was able to make the choice following my passions. It's hard fun, this writing life. Yeah.
Hard fun. So good. Every academic I have ever worked with, we always have to break one rule. And that is the contraction rule. Like they never, I'm going to say never. You never say never or always, but every academic I've worked with has such a resistance about contractions. It's all their writing can be really formal and a little detached. And I always have to go in and get them like conversational, use contractions. It's okay to start a sentence with and, like, and they get the hang of it quickly. You just have to remind academics to write like you talk.
Yeah. There is a rule in academia that says like nothing can be fun or entertaining at all. Like,
right.
Nope.
Yeah.
Let's see. Cheryl says, are you familiar with selfpublishingadvice.org? They list hundreds of self-publishers and grade them in detail. Looks good to me. Oh, great. That's a great resource, Cheryl. That's terrific.
No.
Lori says, when I am writing, I feel the reader's presence. When I'm in the zone, I am not alone.
When I'm in the zone, I am not alone. Dude, that is good.
It's good.
That's it there. That's it right there.
I've also found that having a specific person that I'm writing for has really helped me when I'm not sure where to go or what story to tell or what. For Get It Done, I would always think about my ex-mother-in-law, Ron's mom, who's still with us. She's wonderful. She's not a fan of me because I divorced her son, but that's okay. She's allowed. She's allowed. But she was born and raised in Canton, Ohio. She's a huge crafter. Like she's one of those, she who dies with the most fabric wins. So she makes a lot of quilts and does crochet and all that. One time she made a pie. She made an apple pie, and she goes, ask me what kind of apples I used to make this pie. And I said, okay, what kind of apples did you use to make this pie? And she goes, wrinkly ones. She kept a bushel of apples on her back porch all winter, like people in the Midwest do, and it was getting to the bottom of the barrel and they were wrinkly ones. It was a delicious pie. Anyway, I kept thinking of her because she's someone who would not necessarily describe herself as creative, who would doesn't think of herself as an artist, even though she is, and doesn't have a lot of and isn't really in the world of self-help particularly. But she's super smart and super curious, and I would never in a million years want to talk down to her or feel like I was, here I am with my big city ways.
No way.
So if I could sort of just imagine her and how would I tell this story to her in a way that it would be meaningful and actionable.
Gilbert did that when writing Eat, Pray, Love. She wrote it to one friend.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Pretty good. Linda says, in the moment, it's more like curiosity than generosity. There's nothing to be generous with until we finished writing and polishing. So true.
Ooh, smart.
Claire says, I have big pads and Sharpies, dragging them out today.
Oh, that's so good.
Because I have them for game nights. I can make this a game. Fun.
Okay, your people are fun.
Oh, they're brilliant.
That's best.
They're brilliant. In the Zone, I Am Not Alone is also a mug. Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like your art over housework mug.
Right, art before housework. And I was showing them this one when I started. This is a doodle I did a couple years ago, and it says, fuck off, I'm a mermaid.
No.
It's a little hard to see because the design wrap's all the way around, but it's pretty great.
Oh, so
And it
good.
really was matching my mood today because
I
really,
love
I'm
it.
so glad we had this conversation, Linda. I feel so much better. I was having such a shitty morning and now I feel great. So
Oh, baby. I love
mwah.
you. Thank you for letting me be late too. That was glorious.
No worries.
I love it.
No worries. We got all the time in the world.
I hate it.
Let's do one more breath just to close out this circle. Beth says heading to Beautiful Writers Write-In Call right now. Hi, Beth. That's great. Yeah, and really, if you guys are not in Beautiful Writers group, what is it, like 25 bucks a month or something?
25 a month.
Yeah, and you get all these free resources, and then you get an open Q&A call with Linda and I every month, and we answer
So
every
fun.
question, no matter how long it takes.
You're the best question answerer ever. I just take notes. I just hang on. I just
No,
listen.
that's not true. It's like we make like a good teeter-totter because we often have different.
We do.
Sometimes we think exactly the same thing, and sometimes Linda will say something, and I'll be like,
I'm like, are you high? No way.
like, that's fascinating. I completely disagree. But again, we're talking about something in which, for the most part, there's no right way.
Exactly. There's a million ways to do
There's
it.
a million billion ways. So Beautiful Writers Group, just go to bookmama.com and you'll see it there as one of Linda's offerings. Like I said, it's a membership community of writers, and they have weekly write-ins. So if you need some structured time to write with other people, you can do that. And it's tons of resources and extra interviews and all kinds of fun stuff. So
Fun.
it's a bargain for sure.
Bargain.
All right, Linda, I love you so much. I miss seeing your face. So
I know.
Mwah. Let's
Thank
do one
you.
more breath, everybody. You ready?
Okay.
Let's inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you, Veronica. Love you. Love you, everybody. Mwah. Bye.
Bye, babe.